Okay, how about now? Testing, testing. Okay, so sorry about that. So I did all this talking for absolutely nothing. Sorry for being a little behind. We are in a new studio space after, the little leak that we had. It was the sewer main that gave away, so everything had to be pulled out, completely wet vac, shampooed, disinfected, everything else, and moved back in. So I decided to take advantage of that situation last week, and I moved my benches all around. So if you know anything about my workspace, there's 3 benches along a wall, and I was in the right bench, but now I'm in the middle bench, hoping that the lighting will be a little bit better and that you can, I was trying to create, I was trying to improve what I've been doing for the last 120 weeks. So here we are at week 121. I want to catch up for a second about Storm this past week and the studio tour of the Gilded Poppy down there in Melbourne, Australia. I understand that the audio had gone bad somewhere along the line. Not really clear what had happened, but we're going to try to fix that, and we'll repost it. Hopefully this week I'll go ahead and repost that. If I can't get it to fix, I'll just ask Storm to do it again and see how it goes from there. But I'm sure she'll be delighted to have the opportunity to do it even better, right? Okay, so that said, today is Wednesday, and it's Keep It Simple Wednesday. I'm QFOM Gray, and I am officially simulcasting on 4 channels. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Q Talk on Facebook, and of course on Twitch TV. So that said, what are we doing? We are using pipes. The story with me and pipes is just sort of, it goes back a bit, and I just wanted to share that really quickly here, is that back in the day, I would hear these other artists, right? I never really quite considered myself an artist per se, but more of a designer. I don't know. What's the difference? Just go with it. That said, they would always talk about going to the hardware store and looking around and finding stuff at a hardware store, and they make jewelry out of it. And I thought, why can't I do that? And why haven't I done that? So I took on the challenge, and one day I went to the hardware store and I walked around until I found something that I thought I could use to make jewelry with. And some of you might know about the project called Pipe Art. I know I should have had it here, could have shown you, made out of copper piping. So that was my adventure, my journey into making jewelry from a hardware store. That said, of course, continually looking for projects to do with these lives, because after 200 projects it's starting to get hard. And I was thinking, oh, you know what, I haven't really done anything with pipes. So here, what we're going to do today is we're going to do something with pipe. This is 3/8 inch copper piping from the hardware store. So if any time you have repair work done at your home and they pull out copper piping, don't ever let them take it. It's yours. You should just keep it and do something with it, because there are fun things that you can do with it. Even the tiny stuff, the refrigerator piping, can be used to make embellishments and whatnot. This is refrigerator tubing here, copper tubing, and it comes in a coil. It's fairly inexpensive. It's only expensive in the fact that you have to buy so much of it, and how much of it can you really use? So find a friend and split it with them. But you can definitely use tubing like this to embellish things and make it into links and whatnot, and that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to use a 3/8 inch copper tubing, and this is a little bit heavier wall. You can use a thinner wall if you want to, and we're going to make links out of this to make a really bold statement bracelet. Yes, of course you can do this with silver, but it's going to cost you like a lot of money. Just saying, this is a lot cheaper. I don't even know how much this stuff goes for. It's been a while since I bought it. But so you can see I have this leftover bit that's bent. So there it is. So what are you going to need today? You're going to need a flat nose, a side cutter, tube cutting pliers, multi-looping pliers, a chasing hammer, a steel dap block would be helpful also today. A file, of course, would be a very good thing to have. Maybe some sandpaper too would be a good thing. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to pull out a file because I forgot a file. So there we are. So a file is a good idea. And so, oops, and a saw and some saw blades. Heavier saw blade would make this a lot easier than and faster than thinner saw blades. So, but you can use whatever size saw blades that you want. And of course, because we're using a saw, you probably want some cut lube to go with that too. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to set some stuff aside. We're going to cut ourselves a little bit of tubing, but you know, before I do, I see here that this is a little bit, I want to go ahead and file it straight just because I have this big bulky piece and it would make life a lot easier just to, okay, take a little, some of the burrs off of there. All right, pull out a ruler and let's mark a couple pieces. Zoom in a little bit. So what do you think? Do you think the lighting's a little bit better these days? I hope so. Let's see. We're going to do 1/2 inch. We're going to do 3/8 of an inch. How's that? So we'll just cut a few of these. You're going to need to cut probably about 10 or 12 of these to make an entire bracelet. If you want to make a bracelet out of this, you could also do just 3 of these and link them together to make a pendant. They're a little bit heavy for a pair of earrings, but you can definitely use one for a pair of earrings if you wanted to. All right, let's switch over cameras and see how this works. Again, testing all the technology today, new stuff. So I have my tube cutting pliers here. I'm going to put my tube with my mark right in between the slit. And notice I have it on the second one. I could put it on the third one too, I'm sure. Yeah, actually the third one's probably a little bit better. Okay, but the key to using tube cutting pliers, so I was doing a Zoom not too long ago and someone said, you know what, those tube cutting pliers, they really don't work for me. And I was like, why not? Because it's really easy. And it turned out the problem that she was having was that she wasn't holding the pliers properly. So you need to make sure that the pliers, oops, are on the workbench and not floating in the air when you hold it. So let's put this back. I just lubricated my saw blade there. Okay, moving that back. And notice I'm on the workbench. I'm not floating up here in the air and doing this because there's no leverage and the saw is going to fight you and it's going to break everything and. So I'm going to put right in here and I'm just going to saw. Right down. And what's nice about a tube cutting plier is that it holds both sides of the tube on the sides of the cut, which makes life a lot easier than to, and so that the one side isn't flailing out there. Okay, something sort of interesting here. I'm like, did I go past it? Okay, I think I went past it down here. It's not going any further, so I'm going to move it to the middle one. Dope. And that's how she broke a saw blade. So what's interesting about a reorganization is learning where everything is, because everything's in a new home. So I'm just going to put the saw blade back on. Like so. Tighten it from the back side. Let's re-lubricate and put it right back in. So I want to put it in so I can see the slit. Oops. There we go. Okay. So, you know, a lot of people have a tendency to throw away their saw blade once it breaks. But notice I just shortened my saw and I'm just using a slightly shorter saw blade. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but why waste it, right? All right, I'm gonna cut one more. I don't think I'm gonna cut two more. I'm just gonna cut one more. Just for the sake of demoing. Oops. This one was a short break. Make sure if your saw blade breaks that you clear the clamp of any debris, or else this will never tighten for you. Put that right back in. Tighten it up again. It's a little short. It's going to take a minute. There we go. Okay, ha 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 ha, little did I know, my saw blade's worn out. Yep, I like using my saw blades until it's completely worn out. That is always my goal, is to not break it before it is worn out. So that means I'm sawing well. So when you're not breaking your saw blades, but you completely worn it to nothing, you're doing a good job. Just remember that. It's a good thing. All right, let's tighten it here once again. Put it back in, or I can see it. There you go. If it fights you, don't fight back, all right? Because the more you fight it, the more likely you're going to break it. So nice, long, easy strokes. This does take a minute. Be patient. If you have a tube cutter, like from the hardware store, because this tube is so large, you can definitely use a tube cutter. And yeah, it's pretty easy to use one of those. And it makes it make really quick work of it. There we go. Okay, set that aside. I haven't figured out where I'm putting my saw yet. If you recall, it used to sit behind me, but I don't have any place to hang it back there because I changed my position. All right, so that said, you can see here my tube is slightly wonky, so I'm going to need to file that a little bit. You know, I'm going to switch over to the other camera again. Whoa. There we go. So what we're making today from these tubes is I'm going to be making links. Some fun, puffy little links. It's going to be bold, and it's going to be really nice and chunky, right? If you don't like copper, again, you can definitely buy silver tubing. So what I'm doing now is, because my cut wasn't really nice and straight, is I'm straightening out the, I am straightening out my cuts just by filing a little bit, or a lot. Okay, better. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. See if I can get it done a little bit faster. Okay, good. Of course, you can put this on a flex shaft with a disc sander. Would go really fast too. And then we'll do the same here. Like that. By the way, Andy is watching for all of your comments out there. Hi back to everyone. And if you have any questions, do shout out and he'll relay them to me. Or answer them for you. Okay, there we go. Just cleaning out a little bit the inside of the tube. All right, so there we have it. Let's clean this up just a little tiny bit. Okay, so next thing is we're going to anneal this. Almost forgot. Okay. Again, everything moved around. Make sure I know where things are. Aha, here we are. Grab a solder board. And we're going to anneal these pieces because we're going to dap these and we're going to make it like this puffy link. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and anneal these because after filing and sawing, I'm sure it's been work hardened. So we'll give it a nice hard anneal so that it moves for us, right? Right, should be good. Okay. Good quench. So now we'll take out our dapping block, and I'm going to put the one that fits the closest without being too big because I'm going to dap right down on this, and the theory is that because it's in one of these wells and it's curved, it's convex, it should push the ends together, making it bellow, right? So pull out our chasing hammer and let's see if it works. Make sure you're working straight up and down. Notice it's wanting to move. Aha, look at that. It did. See, there's a comparison. Can you see that? It is starting to move. Very exciting. I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. And notice I'm moving it right back to center every time. Look at that. Huh. So this should be a really nice, simple project. With a nice effect. So this is going to become a link. It looks sort of like a huge rondelle. Or a pony bead, except a lot fancier, I'll say. Okay, look at that. So we started from here, and we've gone to this. I like it. All right, I'm going to throw it in the pickle, and I'll do one more. Again, you want to make sure that it's facing center, or else it's going to be wonky. See that? Oh, this one's really nice. You know, it's moving a little bit easier than the last one. I wonder if it's because I annealed it a little bit better. Don't know. And the edges are nice and soft now. I didn't even have to burnish that or anything, which is great. Okay, there we are. Dope. Cool. Throw that in the pickle also. Let's pull the other one out. Is that the right one? so hold on. Okay, there we have it. Pretty happy. All right, so then we're gonna have to do something to link them together. Because these pieces are so big, I'll give you a perspective here. Throw a ruler on that. See, this is about 1 centimeter, right? About 1/2 inch. So they're fairly large. I think you should also have a thick, heavy piece of wire to connect them. So I have 14 gauge wire here. So I'm going to go ahead and anneal that. That should make my life a lot easier. If you want some contrast, you can use brass or you can use silver. You know, maybe you can use silver wire instead of copper wire and make it look a little bit blingier. Elevate it a little bit. Okay. And then we'll pull out our multi-looping plier. And we're just going to wrap it around the second to largest size. And notice how I overlapped it. Okay. Oh, what just happened? Something just happened. Oh, I see. Sorry. So notice I overlapped it. I'm going to go ahead and trim both sides to create a nice flush end, but I'm going to cut it with a slight overlap. Can you see that? Just a teeny bit. Like so. Because here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to use round jump rings. I want to use more of an slightly oval jump ring. So I'm going to take out my pliers. I'm going to come in just a little bit tighter for you so you can see this. Okay. So notice I have the overlap, right? For opposite of the overlap, overlap, I'm going to put my flat nose pliers in, and I'm going to squeeze down on it. And notice how it's opening up. See? So I'm going to have to squeeze back to get it to come back over, like so. And then turn it around, and on the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to squeeze down on it, like so. See? So it's a bit of an oval jump ring with flat sides. But notice how my overlap worked out for me. Otherwise, if you don't have the overlap, it opens up too much. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to open this to the side, and we're going to put it right in like so. There we are. And then we'll pull, oh, you know what? I forgot. I wanted to hammer this. You can hammer this if you want to or not, but all right. So that said, I had another one already made up. And then we'll put the other piece on. Let's see, can I get this one on? I'm going to pull one more out of the pickle. Rinse that. Let's pull this out just a little bit. Okay, so here we'll move this right in. There it is. Take your pliers. Bent nose is going to be great for this. And get right in there. Push it together and make a nice connection. Look at that. So there you have it. There's a link. see if I can get this other one too. I don't know. So this one was a little, I don't know. This was a test one that I did this morning. Let's see if I can get it to work. Okay. I think this one was much wider. It was pushed in more like a tire, so it's really fighting me. Don't have quite enough room. Oh, there we go, on that side. And then we'll put it on this one. Same thing. Get a good grip in there. Come on. Okay, so there was a question posed, and I'm not clear I completely understand it, so I'm going to ask Andy to repeat it, and I'm struggling with this last one here. Okay, yes. Okay, so the question is, does the overlap when I'm making the jump ring increase or decrease with the intended final size? So yes, so if you're making a really wide oval, you need to make a bigger overlap, right? So, because it's stretching out. So hopefully I answered that question, and I can't seem to get this last jump ring on. Oi! That said, okay, I'm gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna grab another jump ring and see what happens. Again, I made a couple this morning. Don't know if any of them are the right size, but we'll try. Of course, everything's fighting me. Can't be easy now, can it? Okay, we're just gonna move this out like so. It's catching on the inside of the oval, and that's my problem right now. Is it doesn't want to come back. Okay, and then I can't seem to reach the inside wire here. So we just switch out pliers and use it to our advantage until, there we go. So you can solder these jump rings closed if you want to. However, I don't find it necessary considering you're using 14 gauge wire, right? And especially if you hammer it, it'll harden. But there it is. There's my link. I do realize that I have a slight gap on this one, so we'll just put this in here and push it together. And it should hold. I mean, it should hold really, really nicely. But you can see where I'm going with this. It makes for a really, really nice, bold, large bracelet. It will be heavy too. This is going to be a really substantial bracelet. So if you're looking for something for a guy, this is great. This is really, something that they can wrap around their wrists. If you want to use a smaller tube, I tried that this morning. It didn't really work out for me. It was a little bit too hard to do. So I backed off of it, went to a larger tubing. I did start with one of these. This is 1/4 inch tubing. And it was a little bit much, but why not try it? Maybe I didn't give it enough of an effort. I only tried it once or twice. And it was fighting me, so I decided to go up to this 3/8 size, and it seems to work really nicely, as you can see. And again, the more you dap it, the more it becomes a bit of a tire shape, a rondelle shape. And the less you tap it, the more bulbous it is, and the length, it'll be a bit of a wider tube, right? Because the more you dap it down, it just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and pushes out just a little bit. So there it is. You could also, if you want to take this further, you could also, before you link it all up, you could also etch it and make a great design on them. Oh, there's a class for you. Huh. Okay, my head is spinning now. That said, all these tools can be found at theurbanbeater.com. Remember, Virtually Ever Crafting is up and running. Registration is open. A newsletter went out over the weekend, and there is a second chance coupon for $7 off. So do read your emails, and you will find the coupons there. If you are not on the mailing list, do reach out, and we will get you that coupon. So you can find me on Facebook, on the Q Talk Facebook page, or on my personal Facebook page, or you can even go to the Virtually Ever Crafting community page, and all the information is up there. So lots of great classes for Virtually Ever Crafting. Anything else? So one more time, the question was, no worries that the oval wire is not soldered. I'm not worried about it because you know what? It is 14 gauge wire, and after all that bending, there should be a certain amount of hardness to it. If you are a little sketchy about it, of course you can go ahead and solder it. You'd have to pull it to the side, solder it, and put it back in. But another thing you can do too is you can take the jump ring, put it on your bench block, and hammer it a little bit. That will definitely harden it. It will give it a slightly different look, but it's also another it's just another texture that you can add to this piece, because by flattening out the wire a little bit, it's just a great look. So that's another way to go. But nope, not worried about it, because jump rings that I use for a lot of my chains are really 19 gauge, and here we are using 14 gauge, so it should work. So yeah, I see some comments there, or Andy sharing some comments about enameling this. Would be fun. You can definitely enamel these beads too, and add some color to your work. So add some color to your metal. But I don't really enamel these kinds of beads too often. Maybe we'll have to try it here in the next couple weeks. But anyway, so since we skipped a Zoom along last week, there'll be a Zoom along this week on Friday. And next week, we're going to be at Bead Fest all week long. So we are not, maybe I might go live from Bead Fest. We'll see. But I understand that I'll be live at jtv.com, I think it is, and Jewelry Television on Wednesday next week at 1 p.m. So apparently they're bringing a camera crew into my class. So we'll see what happens there. We'll do a little filming and share it if we can. And if not, I will see you back here in about 2 weeks. Yep, 2 weeks, because I'll be traveling on the following Monday too. If not, I'll see you on Friday during the Zoom. I'll post a link on the Q Talk Facebook page here probably tonight. All right. Until then, thanks for hanging out. I hope you found this simple and easy and something